Hello, my name is Freddy from Aula Inglés Academy. Today I want to show you the whole structure of the Aptis general exam. I'm going to begin with the speaking component. Aptis is a computer-based exam, which means this speaking won't be done with with an examiner in front of you. There isn't any interaction with the examiner. Your voice will be recorded by the system, and this recording will be sent to the examiner later. Okay, so the day of the exam, you will be speaking to the computer, you will have headphones and a microphone. The speaking component lasts around 12 minutes and it has 4 parts. The first part has just 3 questions, okay? Very short questions, and you are supposed to speak only for 30 seconds. So one question, 30 seconds speaking, another question, 30 seconds, and a third question, 30 seconds. You have a big timer on the screen, so this means you will always be able to check the time. Now, part 2, you have to describe a picture for 45 seconds, and then you have 2 questions about the topic of the picture. My recommendation is please describe what you can see. Only speak about what you can actually see on the picture. Say that you can see, for example, in this picture, say that you can see computers, people, they are in an office, that there is a teacher, maybe, it's an indoors picture. Say what you can see, don't give your opinion about the picture, because remember that you have 2 more questions about the topic of the picture, and you don't want to answer these questions before they appear on the screen. All right? Now, in part 3, you have to compare 2 pictures. Comparing is not the same as describing. Remember, you have to be speaking about both pictures all the time. So try to jump from one picture to the other all the time. Say, for example, in the first picture, I can see this, while in the second picture, I can see that. In the first picture, I can see a lot of chairs, while in the second picture, or meanwhile, or however, or nevertheless, okay? You can use different connectors to contrast your opinion about each of the pictures, but do not just speak about one picture then the other, because then you won't be using lots of connectors, okay? As I said, remember, comparing is not the same as describing. And then you have 2 more questions about the topic of these pictures, okay? You have 3 questions in total in part 3 with the comparison, and for each part you have to speak for 45 seconds. Now, in part 4, which is the last part of this speaking component, 3 questions appear on the screen, okay? There is a picture, but the picture is just to give you an idea about the questions. You are not supposed to describe the picture. You have to answer these 3 questions in 2 minutes. So you have to speak about these 3 questions for 2 minutes continuously. Okay, this is the only part of the exam where you will have 1 minute to prepare. So when you read, you have 1 minute timer here, and then you have 2 minutes to talk. Now, my recommendation, as you will have some time to check your questions before speaking, decide which is the easiest questions for you to talk about, and then speak longer about these questions. The examiner is not expecting you to speak about a specific time, okay, about a specific period of time in each question. He just wants you to answer the 3 questions. So if you feel like the question 3 is the easiest, then speak the longest about this question. If you feel it's the question 1, then do the same. All right? So remember, you have 4 parts in the speaking component. This will be the first component you will be doing the day of the exam, and the only part of the exam where you will have time to prepare will be part 4. The reading exam has 4 parts. The whole exam is computer based, as you know, and when you start the reading exam, you have a fill in the gap exercise, like the one you can see here on my screen. You have just some gaps and you just have to click on the right answer, right? So you have a display of options and you only have to fill the gaps for this part. So it's not very difficult. Actually, it's supposed to be the easiest part of the exam. So that's part 1. In part 2, you have 2 stories. Okay, 1 and 2, as you can see here. You are supposed to organize the story because the story is not in order. So you just have to click here and move the sentences to the right place according to your opinion. All right? So you just organize the text. My suggestion for this part is to pay attention to phrases like time, like when I was a child, or connectors like first, second, or finally, okay, or to begin with. This kind of phrases help you organize and locate each of the sentences, okay? So remember, in part 2, you have 2 stories, okay? And you have to organize them. Then in part 3, you have 4 people's opinions, okay? You have to match the people opinion to each of the statements, okay? So you have who said this, who expressed this opinion, person A, B, C, or D. And you have 7 statements, 7 opinions, and you're supposed to match them with these 4 people. What is my recommendation here? Well, read person A and match the opinions. Then person B and match the opinions. Do not read everything and then go to the opinions because it's going to be harder. Okay? Read person and then go and match them to the opinions. Okay? And finally, in part 4, you have a matching the heading exercise, which means you will have these paragraphs, as you can see here, and you have to match each of the paragraph to one of these headings, titles. Okay, usually the title is could be the main opinion of the text, or it could be some of the words with synonyms. So just go and find the main opinion in each of the texts and select the heading. My recommendation is try not to make a decision as soon as you read the paragraph. Just read, and if you think there are 1 or 2 possible solutions, 1 or 2 possible headings, just take them into consideration. Do not make a quick decision and keep reading, okay? Once you finish reading everything, it's going to be easier for you to say which title belongs to each text, okay? And that would be the end. For this part, for the reading part, the reading component, you will have 35 minutes, okay? You can take as long as you want for each of the parts, but remember, you will have just 35 minutes for everything. So try to save some time in the easiest parts, part 1 and part 2, so you can leave some extra time for parts 3 and 4. And that would be the reading component. The listening component has 4 parts and it lasts 45 minutes. For part 1, you will find 13 questions. There are 13 audios, as you can see here on the screen, 13 audios, and each audio has a multiple choice question, which means you will have options for you to click, okay? You won't have to write anything, right? They are short audios about the attitude or the opinion, or trying to find the information given by a speaker, but it's just 1 question for each audio. Now, in part 2, you have 4 people's opinion, speaker A, B, C, and D, and they are all speaking about the same topic. However, they have different opinions about this topic. So all you have to say is speaker A what does speaker A want? What does speaker B want? C and D. As you can see, they all share the same options. The best way for you to do this is remember as they all have the same options. What you can do is just select first the ones that you feel more confident about, that you think that you're sure, and once you have selected those ones, you have decided that they are the correct options, you can just play with the ones that you are not that confident about. So first select the ones that you feel more confident about. All right. Then in part 3, you have a conversation between a man and a woman. It's just one conversation, and you have 4 opinions, and you have to say who has expressed each of these opinions. If the man, the woman, or both. I recommend you to use a piece of paper and write everything you can from the audio. Okay, make notes, write everything, whatever you can get from each of these people in the audio, just write it, and then you can check your notes with the actual opinions on the screen. All right. Finally, in part 4, you have 2 monologues. As you can see, part 4, monologue 1 and monologue 2. However, each monologue has 2 questions. Okay, just one audio, but you have 2 questions about the same audio. Right? Again, multiple choice question and 2 monologues. Again, please make sure you make loads of notes for these parts. You can listen to every audio twice, okay? So that won't be a problem. You can repeat your conversations. You can listen twice. However, make sure you make notes, so at the end, when you have already used your second play, your second turn, you have something written, some notes taken, right? Remember, for the listening component, you have 4 parts in total. As you know, Aptis is a computer-based exam, so the writing will be also completed on a computer. This means you will be typing, you won't be writing. For the writing component, you will have 4 parts. The first part is the easiest one. You only have 5 questions, as you can see here. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 questions, right? You have a space to write, but the thing is that you have a maximum of 5 words to answer these questions. So do not write any more words than it is requested. Okay, so 5 words. For example, for this question, how did you get to work today? You could just say by bus, okay, or by train, and that is a correct answer. All right, you need to answer from a maximum of 1 to 5 words. Okay, do not write more than 5. In part 2 is the first part where you have to write a full sentences. You have to use from 20 to 30 words. The whole writing is as if you were joining a club. It could be a reading club, a travel club, a cooking club, right? This time is a fashion club, and they're asking you why you are interested in the fashion club. Remember, you have a maximum of 30 words, and you just have to say what you think. You could say, I joined this club because I love fashion and I like modern clothes, for example, right? You just have to be creative. That is part 2. Is the first part of the exam where you write a full paragraph. Now, in part 3, you have a social network interaction chat. It's like if you were speaking to someone on Facebook, for example. You have 3 questions, 1, 2, and 3. So you have 3 people asking you on a chat room questions about the club, and here the number of words has increased. Now you have to use from 30 to 40 words per answer, okay, per answer, right? So part 3, you have to answer 3 questions on a social network interaction. Now, part 4, this is the last part of the exam. In part 4, you have 2 emails, an informal email and a formal email. You have to complete both emails. It's not just one of them, it's both of them. They send you an email, the email is here, and you are supposed to answer to this email, okay, reply to this email. Now, until this part, until the first part of part 4, everything in the exam is informal. So from question 1 in part 1 to question 1 in part 4, everything you write, the whole style is informal. So you can use abbreviation, contractions, okay? You can have a natural style in all these parts, right? Now in part 4, this is where you change your style, because in part 4 you have to reply to an email in a formal style, right? In this part they are asking you to reply to the email, but basically you are replying or sending the email to a friend, but the email is about this email that they have sent you before, right? So they say write to a friend giving your advice and opinion about the changes to the catwalk show, right? So you say, hi Fred, how are you, how's everything, and then you write your email, right? Now here you have the same email and they say write to the fashion club management, which means a formal email, and you are saying kind of the same information but in an informal register, like dear sir or madam, I am writing regarding the email you sent me, and then you continue with your template. My recommendation, guys, for emails you should always have templates, okay? You should know how to write an email, you should know how to begin the email, the body, all the parts of an email, okay? Formal and informal. For the chat, you have spontaneous questions, so try to be direct in your answers. You don't have to follow an email structure for the chat part. All you have to do is answer directly to these questions, okay? So for these parts, as you know, they are the most difficult parts. You are supposed to have all the words that are usually used in emails, words like I look forward to hearing from you, or regarding, or connections like however, nevertheless, or first, second, finally, right? So make sure you have all your templates before doing your writing exam. Remember, there are 4 parts. You will be writing here on the computer, and you will have 50 minutes for the whole exam. Finally, I want to show you the structure of the grammar and vocabulary exam. For these 2 parts, you will have 25 minutes because these 2 parts are in the same component, okay? Remember, they are in the same component, grammar and vocabulary component. For the grammar part, you will have 25 multiple choice questions, okay? All you have to do is click on the right answer. Now, for the most basic and usual grammar structures, you have conditionals, report speech, question tags, you have the superlative and comparative, you have the used to and would, you have the modal verbs. These are concepts and rules that you should know before doing your exam. All right? My recommendation for the grammar part is always learn the rules, but the exceptions to the rules, because they usually appear in the exams, all right? When you finish working on your 25 questions for the grammar, then you will find the vocabulary part. The vocabulary part has 5 parts, 5 categories, okay? And you will find 5 questions in each category. You can do synonyms, you can do collocations, it could be definitions, or it could just be a fill in the gap exercise, but for a sentence, not for a text. Okay, so remember 25 questions for the grammar, and in total, we're talking about 25 questions for the vocabulary exam. And that would be everything. This would be 25 minutes, okay, for both parts, and you can take whatever you want for each of the parts, although we recommend to take around 12 for the grammar and 13 for the vocabulary, but do not take longer or more than 15 minutes in the grammar part, because then it will just be 10 for the vocabulary. All right, so that would be it. That would be 25 minutes for the grammar and vocabulary exam. And as extra information, remember you do all the parts in Aptis, like all the components, the writing, reading, listening, speaking, grammar, and vocabulary. All of them are done at the same day, okay? You don't go one day to do one part and then another day to do the speaking. No, you do everything the same day. For more information, you can contact aulainglés.es, or you can call us here on our phone number you can see on the screen. Bye bye.